Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Advantage Attraction. And here, I am your host today, and my name is Frank Panunto. I got a great guest today, Scott Colbert. Scott's part of our growth team, and we're going to have a great 30 minutes talking about who knows where we're going to go. But hey, Scott, welcome to our little podcast that Russ and I have.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Frank. It's super exciting to be here. It's a really neat thing you guys have going on. Glad to be a part of
Yeah.
it.
What's fun, we're starting right now with getting to kind of introducing our team to everybody, a little bit of background of where you all come from and what we're trying to do, and then we'll see what it turns into. I think we're gonna have a lot of different guests, the people that joined us, and talk about everything. Like we're gonna get into a lot of leadership stuff today, and just kind of what makes you tick.
Yeah,
So why
that's
don't you
awesome.
tell everybody a little bit about let's do this first. Yeah, let's go a little bit with your background, then we'll get into where you're located.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I'm about 26 years in the real estate industry,
That's
full
it.
time.
That's
Just
all.
just 26 years. I know it is funny. I've always looked up to those people in the business that I saw that they got 8 years in, 10 years in, and as
Yeah.
you start growing, next thing you know, you look back, you're like, where did my hair go? And 26 years just flew right by.
Hey, man, I just hit 31 years. Trust me, I'm coming up on 32. I did
Yeah.
not look like this 32 years ago.
Yeah, I know it's super funny. Like when people say like you have to update your business card, and you look back on those folks that have had those cards from like a million years ago, and then you look at your own and you're like, oh shoot, now I'm that guy. So yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, 26 years in the industry, second generation into this business. Took it real serious early on. Put up a lot of deals. Close to 1,000 deals under my belt. Got more into the corporate side of things. I'd say probably in the last 10 years, managing big teams and brokerages. And I've done everything. I've been managing broker. I've been designated brokers. I've been, you name it, recruiters, coach. I've done it all.
Well, it's interesting because we hear this a lot too, when especially people that have done high production. Well, why'd you get out of production? What made you get into leadership? So, and I went through the same thing. So, tell me for you, why the change? Why did you want to kind of do less production, more on the leadership side?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a great story actually. So most of the sales that I did, I started in Southern California, but moved to Bozeman, Montana, where I did most of my sales. So anything that I did of note was certainly in Montana. And as the market started to correct, I guess that's a good word for it, oh 06, 07, 08, during those years, we decided to relocate to Arizona, where we've got a bigger market, right? So take advantage of what's going on out there. And as I started to kind of rebuild the empire, as I call it, I really just started sharing some knowledge with some folks that I met, some folks that were doing like new home sales and things like that.
Yeah.
And I really found that I became super passionate about coaching and teaching others how to do the things that I learned. And when I saw that, I thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. And it was really about passion. When I saw the money, how easily it would take it away, it just, everything just kind of fell apart. And I thought, I don't want to have a rented career. I want to have something that I can build that I'm passionate about. And I went to the corporate side of things.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, 'cause I kind of had the same thing when I was, full-time production. And I coach. I coach sports too. I've been a coach for over 30 years, and something
Oh,
I'm
wow.
super passionate about that I love. But it's true, when you're able to help somebody move the needle in their life, there's something different about that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say that. Yeah, I never called them deals when I was in. I always called them, transactions or whatever. Deals seemed impersonal, but I do think real estate agents change people's lives. We're
Hmm.
tasked with a lot. It's a very big responsibility. I never took that for granted. So
Yeah.
when I took the same approach with agents, I understand how hard they work. And I think one of the
Mm.
greatest features or attributes of our company that you and I work for is that every decision here is made by an agent for an agent.
Yeah.
Glenn, Leo, all of us, the executive team, we're all licensed real estate agents. So, if it doesn't benefit the agent, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it's important when it comes to the leadership part that you're talking about.
Yeah, I do too. And I love it when I'm talking to agents, because in my role, I'm talking to agents. Sometimes they just got their license.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're looking into it. Sometimes they're big brokerages or teams or whatever. But I love those moments when I can have those one-off conversations sometimes with folks and explain to them like, we're not this big giant. I mean, we are a very successful real estate company, but we're not this big intimidating giant. We've got something for everybody. And when I see new agents, how they can thrive under our business model with fast attract and things like, or fast cap, fast
Yep.
attract as well. and some of those programs. It's super exciting because, we didn't have that growing up. It was all just about hustle, and here's the phone book and a highlighter, and,
Yeah.
go for it. And so to see those opportunities for folks where we truly are where the pros go to grow. I mean, we've got something for every stage of your career, where you can really take advantage of the opportunities here. It's just amazing. And I love sharing that. And I love sharing that passion with folks. And I explain to folks like, listen, I've been doing this a long time and I've seen a lot and I've been a lot of places. I wouldn't be here in this role if I didn't 100% believe in what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you touched on something that's very important. I just said that one of the best attributes and my favorite things about the company is that agents for agents. The other thing
Yeah.
is, something I talk about in every conversation I have, is that everyone has a peer group here. So everyone we're talking to, whether it is that solo agent or whether it is that team leader or that broker owner, everybody has a peer group here. There's always another group to help you. People are always looking to pull you up. But don't you think it's kind of cool, though, when you're having these business conversations, and it's interesting to me when you're, especially talking to broker owners and team leaders, you think they have it all, like they've had it all together, they have it all figured out. And what do we find out in those conversations? They need help too.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's really the pivotal point too. When I have those conversations with folks, like my strategy is never to like talk people into it. It's
Yeah.
just to see like, how can we build your business? Like you chose your broker, you chose where you're at for a reason, and you've taken your business to a certain level, but there's obviously a reason why we're having this conversation, and how can I help you with our tools get maybe to the next level? But it's never that strong arm conversation. It's always about how can we help benefit you and move your business forward. And so I love that idea that we can share that value and everything that we offer. Like you said, built by agents for agents, and it is extremely agent centric. I mean, Leo is pulling his hair out, constantly finding ways to like do more for our agents, and Glenn too. So it's super exciting to see it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's amazing.
No, me neither. It's you said the word agent centric, which I think is probably the most overused word in the industry. A lot of people say it, but a lot of people don't live it.
Right.
And so when you're in that arena, it's hard to come across in a conversation without sounding salesy, because you get excited about it, because it is completely different. And I don't know, I've never found anything like it. And listen, I don't know about you, Scott, but I've been here a little over 3 years. It's the most fun I've ever had in the industry. I mean, I've never enjoyed it so much. A lot of it's the people we work with too. We've got awesome people, but to do what we get to do every day, I mean, it's so fulfilling, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the support is key, and I think the biggest thing that I can say that really separates us from a lot of other brokerages is I love seeing some of the big team leaders and the big teams and the super successful attractors and things like that. And their whole mantra is like, find your best stuff and give it away free. And I love that, because like you talked about, having that organization and having those people that you can, work with, that's so powerful, because
Yeah.
it isn't just like when we talk about attraction and we talk about sponsorship and things like that, it isn't just about a sponsor. It isn't about just knowing somebody. It's about truly being part of their business as you build your business. There's always that hand reaching down to pull you up. And it's super exciting. And our culture within the company, from operations to our phenomenal brokers. I mean, I'm constantly blown away by the talent we have with all of our state brokers, and the ways things are so streamlined. It's just amazing. It really is a well-oiled machine.
Well, it's crazy. You talked about it before about, we're a big company, but it doesn't feel like it.
Mm-mm.
It really never feels
It
like
doesn't.
that. You can get whoever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you. You were a managing broker, and I managed offices, and I've never had so much access to people, or been involved, or even spoken to so many people in any given week that I did when I was running an office with over 300 agents in it, which I
Yeah,
had when I
100%.
was in a different company at one time. So it's like, the same 14, 15 people come in every day.
Right.
We're here, we talk to a couple hundred people a week.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of access to people is just, these are the things that is so hard to communicate to people. They can't, because they can't wrap their head around it, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And, because we talk a lot about value versus cost, so a lot of times these conversations we have with folks, it goes into cost. And I understand that cost is important. I mean, we have to manage expenses in our business, and that's super important, but we never want to be like blinded to certain things. Like when we talk about $85 a month, for our tech stack. I mean, when people see the value of all those things, I mean, you can pick almost any one of those things which would cost you probably more than $85 a month. And so it's never about money, for the company. It's not about like trying to make money off the agent. It's about providing tools and providing value and trying to offset some of that cost, of course. But there's so much value there, and the part of that value is also in what you get with that community with the agents like we're talking about. You really can't put a price on it. Like a funny story, I was in the airport in one of the travels. I think it was probably going to the regional rally or something like that, and I'm wearing my EXP hat. And I told this story to a small boutique brokerage, but I said, the lady asked me, she goes, "Oh, what is EXP?" And I was blown away. I'm like, "You've never heard of EXP Realty? Like, we're the biggest independent real estate company in the nation." And she goes, "No, I've never heard of it." And I told this story to that small broker. I said, "I promise you, if they've never heard of EXP, they've never heard of you. You got to join a community where people can
Yeah.
help you thrive."
Yeah, so true. So let's shift gears for 1 second. So let's tell everybody what your territory is and what states you oversee. It's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a pretty vast territory. I reside in Arizona, and Arizona is one of my core markets. I also cover Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, which is another core market for us, Wyoming, and Montana. So pretty big market.
What a wide range, and I'm sure that the markets in these. I mean, you're talking about extreme differences. So what
Yeah,
challenges do you see with that?
they are pretty extreme. I mean, to be honest, when we were cutting up territories a little bit, I'd really kind of put my foot in the door there to make sure I could get my hands on Montana and Wyoming, because I'm super passionate about that market. I've sold in that market, was very successful in that market. I speak the language. It's a quite a different market than it is, for example, in Phoenix. And of course, I've spent 15, 14 years in Phoenix as well. So I feel like I'm very uniquely equipped to handle those vast territories. In fact, I even had a broker's license in Colorado for a period. So, I feel like I'm very uniquely equipped to manage those markets, and I'm real excited about the success we're having in that territory.
Yeah, you're crushing it, by the way. Great job.
Thanks.
So let's talk about this, because I'm on the East Coast, right? So we're
Mhm.
two totally different sides and different markets.
Mhm.
But I bet you we're going to have a lot of same kind of answers. So what are the most common challenges you're hearing right now or seeing? What are you hearing from broker owners? What are you hearing from team leaders? What are you hearing from agents? What's their biggest hurdle and struggle right now?
I think the biggest hurdle and struggle that I'm hearing right now is like whether it be small teams or small brokerages, it's about being able to get that value proposition communicated clearly to their agents so they can recapture most of their team. Because a lot of folks, they don't, if they got 30, 40, 50 people on their team, they don't want to make a switch and then lose half their people, right?
Yeah.
Because the numbers only make sense if people believe in the value. And that's where we talk a lot about cost versus value. So like, how do we really get that messaging across to show the value? Because I mean, we spend a lot of this time with team leaders and broker owners, and when they get it, they're bought in, and we've been talking to them for sometimes weeks or months, but
Yeah.
we've got minutes to explain that value proposition to sometimes these team members. And that's probably our biggest challenge.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting because this kind of is what I was alluding to before. I was talking about they don't really know. It's amazing to me how many times they can't articulate their value proposition.
Right.
And so many times people are worried about percentages. They're worried about, well, I buy these leads, and you got to have more value proposition than that, right? And they have it, but they don't really know how to express it a lot of times. I think part of what's fun for our job is uncovering those value propositions and then put it in front of them so they can self-discover. You really have a lot to
100%.
offer them. And we're going to add to that, by the way. This is what we're going to do to help you with your value proposition. But it's amazing that I think they get tunnel vision sometimes when you get stuck into your own world and you can't even see it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that 100%. And I think a lot of agents, I mean, if you look at the statistics, a lot of folks that get their license, they don't renew. I think it's something like in Arizona at one point, I saw the stats where like 70% didn't even renew, but there's so many new people coming in. And then the average agent's doing like 4.3 to 4.5 transactions per year, and which really is their friends and family, their sphere. And when that runs out,
Right.
nobody really taught them how to prospect. Nobody really taught them how to lead generate for themselves. They don't have 10 grand a month to put into buying leads, And so it really comes down to the support they're going to get, and that's where I think we really step up big time for our agents, is showing them that value. If, like, for example, with Fast Cap, so agents can come into that and really learn how to feed themselves and not be reliant on some other person's lead source.
100%. I mean, first of all, I think what Brian Ellington and his team has done with EXP University is off the charts. It's
Amazing.
off the charts. We're talking about 80 live trainings every week, and then all this stuff. It's insane. But I think you hit something too, and I think this is where we've gotten lost. You and I are old school. We've been doing this for a long time, and so we learned how to go hunting and how to go fishing and how to build a sphere of influence. And I think a lot of the newer, but we didn't have the technology. Think about that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, hey man, I got in, there was no MLS. There were no cell phones. Nobody had computers at their house. We worked out of the books and map books and all this kind of stuff and cold calling and knocking on doors. So you really had to work to kind of spread the word. The flip side to that was if your neighbor wanted to know how much a house sold for, they had to call you to find out. They didn't have it at their fingertips, right? So now when I see technology and I see how quickly people can actually reach other people, but the problem is we live in this microwave society. They're still not doing the blocking and tackling. So to me, you just talked about it, building that SOI and, and understanding what your database means. That's a spinal cord. And to me, the secret to long-term sustainability. You've got to understand how to lead generate. If you're only focused on purchasing leads, it's going to be tough. I mean, you got a 2 or 3% conversion rate if you're lucky.
It's exactly. And it's amazing how many people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on leads, but then they don't answer the phone when it rings. I mean, that makes no sense to me.
And the follow-up, so that's part 2, right? The follow-up, the FU as we call it. It's unbelievable. And I would watch people, I would mentor people. I was a open house king back in my day. That was how I made, my career got off to a good start. But back then it was a buyer's market. It's completely opposite of this. And you may have had that where you were. But if you had buyers back in the mid 90s, you were doing very well. If you had listings, you were kind of like, oh my God, there's a listing on every block, opposite of today. And so I would mentor people on doing open houses. And, with the open house would end and I'm like to the agent, okay, what are you doing now? I'm going home. No. Now you go back to the office, do all your follow-up. Your open house didn't end at 3:00. It doesn't end until tonight. You got to go back and get to work. But that's the part of, people just, they don't, I mean, the great ones do, right? They have systems. But the ones that struggle, to your point, that's 70%. They never plugged in the systems. They never developed systems. They never prepared. And that's I think where the struggle really comes in.
Yeah, the systems are important. I knew when I was new in the business and I got plopped into Bozeman, Montana, which was a market that I knew absolutely nothing about. It was a pretty small market, very much of a niche market. And it was old school, man. It was like I found someone in the office that had a listing. I begged him that I can do an open house. And while I was at the open house, I'm calling all the for sale by owners in the area, setting appointments to go visit them after their open house. Yeah. And that's what I just started doing. And then it took off. I mean, it was insane. Because, you hear this being said a lot too, but work works, right? It really does. You can wait for the phone to ring or you can make somebody else's phone ring. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. So, I always said there are 2 types of realtors I've ever been around. There are proactive realtors and reactive realtors. Which one are you going to be? The proactive guys and girls, they win in any market. The reactive ones that are sitting there waiting for their phone to ring or waiting for somebody to pick up and they struggle, right? So, when you put your systems together, what is the vision of what you want your business to look like? And then what's your plan of attack?
Yeah, 100%. And like you touched on it too, like having those systems, like you really have to have a business maturity because we've seen so many people, like I used to own, I won't say the name of the franchise, but I used to own a franchise company, well-known company in Bozeman. And it was funny that I had an agent one time approach me that said, I think I'm gonna have to go get a part-time job. And I said, you don't need a part-time job. You got to start showing up for your full-time job. The reason why your income is doing this is because your activity is doing this. Right. And so if you're consistent with your efforts, you're going to be consistent with your income. Real simple. And that business maturity comes in. So like when you're working a deal, when you're already doing the commission in your head, when you put $1 million deal in contract, are you prospecting? Are you showing up every day? Are you lead following up? Are you generating leads that way? Are you reaching out to your past clients, your sphere of influence? Are you working your buy owners? Are you doing all those things that got you where you are every single day? Or are you taking that time off because you're working that deal and then cashing that check and hoping that it's enough to pay last month's bills and
Yeah.
maybe this month's bills before you get your head back in the game and start getting back on track, but you're still doing this, right?
Well, it's interesting because people, you'll hear it a lot, especially people getting into real estate. I don't want a boss. I got in real estate.
Yeah.
I don't want a boss. I want to work for
Right.
myself. Okay, great. But with that comes a lot of self accountability and
Yeah.
self discipline. Are you willing to do that? So when
Yeah.
people, to your point, when I was managing people and they would come up and say, I got this going on. Well, show me your activity for the last 7 days. What'd you do?
Yeah.
And
Right.
okay, well, how'd you expect? Your results are a direct reflection of your actions, right? So if you don't
Yep.
like your results, you got to change your actions. So let's
Yep.
take a look at what that looks like, and then we can go from there, right?
Yeah.
So let's do this. We got a couple minutes left. Tell us about Scott, not real estate related. Tell us what you like to do. What are your interests and hobbies, and give us a little insight to your world.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like I said, I live in Arizona now. I love to camp. I've got a fifth wheel trailer that I love to go camp out. I'm up in Flagstaff actually right now, a little bit cooler. Yeah, I live in Chandler, Arizona, so it's definitely hot this time of year. In fact, it's hot most of the year, but love to camp, love to mountain bike. Love movies. I mean, I'm a family guy. I love just hanging out with the family, hanging out with the kids, being involved in what everybody's doing. That's pretty much it. I mean,
Well, give me one fun Scott fact that people don't know about you that might
a,
surprise
a,
them.
a fun Scott fact. Okay, let's think. I've got a few. Well, I mean, okay, a fun fact. A fun fact I will say is I have a few different nicknames. One of them is Fall Risk because I tend to be fairly accident prone. I'm either crashing on my mountain bike or literally just walking by a pool and falling in. And yeah, so there's that. My family kind of teases me a little bit that, I mean, we're literally walking. I think it was some kind of resort in Phoenix. We were walking by and I've got backpack on, computer in there, and I'm walking by and I'm on my phone and the pool does one of these and I literally just stepped and fell in backwards into the shallow end. And I kind of sat there for a minute. I went, of course that happened.
Did anybody
So
applaud? Just standing ovation or anything?
no, but a few people looked and pointed and laughed, and I thought, yeah, I get it. I mean, if I was in your seat, I would get the phone out. I'd be putting some content out there. That was pretty funny. But yeah, so Fall Risk is one of my many nicknames.
That's outstanding. All right, Scott. So if people want to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Best way to find me is on Slack. That's the easiest way. I'm in our EXP collective. Just look up Scott Colbert. And quite honestly, I mean, reach out to me if you're in my markets. If you need assistance, you could be in a different market. And if you've got somebody you want me to talk to that's in one of my markets, you don't have to be in Arizona for me to help you out in Arizona, right? Or wherever you are.
And
Yeah,
I think
so
that's one of the
real
great
simple.
things that we always crisscross, right? We all help each other
Yep.
out. But man,
Yep.
you're such a great, valuable asset to this team, man. And I've gotten to know
Appreciate
you, and just a great guy, man. So it's I appreciate you spending time with me today. And
Thanks,
hey,
Frank.
I'll be seeing you soon at the XP Con.
Yeah, I love it. I'll see you there. I appreciate the time. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, brother.